What's up everybody, welcome back. So after the last video from yesterday where we did the 5.2 upgrade and did some fixes for the XP system, for today I want to take a look at adding a spawner for the pickups that we created. So we can set different options for the spawner to determine what kind of pickup it will spawn and if the pickup will respawn after it's been picked up and things like that. So over here I have health, equipment, weapon, ammo, and then the last one is a random pickup, so that can spawn any of the previous types. And as I mentioned, we can make it respawn after it's been picked up. So for example, if I pick up the pistol over here, you can see for the client and the server after a certain time it will respawn and it replicates, so it's the same pickup for both of them. So that's what we're gonna do today. If you like the series, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to get your hands on the project file, you can become a member of the YouTube channel or become a Patreon, and then you will get access to premium channels in the Discord, and there's also a download for the project in there. So let's start today's video. So let's start with a small thing that's not really related to the pickup spawner, but it's also in the loot folder. So go to the gameplay loot folder and we're going to open our pickup equipment. So we did some cleaning up in here, but I forgot to actually delete this variable. So we have the loaded ammo clip still in here, but it's not being used anymore, although it's still set to exposed on spawn. So this makes it a little bit confusing if we actually use this pickup in the level. So we can simply delete the loaded ammo clip variable. We're not using it anymore. And for the ammo pickup, we can pretty much do the same thing. So we are only using the boolean over here in the event graph to determine what message we're actually sending, but we're not actually setting it for the equipment pickup because that doesn't really make sense. So in here on the event graph for the event interact with actor, we can get rid of the is ammo pickup branch in here and simply connect the true pin to the lower branch, so where it doesn't say ammo, and then get rid of this part over here. Keep the color node, by the way, so get rid of this part. And then we're also able to delete the boolean. There we go. So just a little bit of cleanup that I forgot to do previously. So now we can start doing the actual pickup spawner, and to make our lives a little bit easier, I'm going to create an enum. So I'm going to right click, go to blueprint, and then go to enumeration. This is going to be the enumeration for the pickup types. And we're going to set it up first. So we're going to add 3 enumerators. The first one is going to be a health pickup. Then we're going to have weapon pickups. And we're also going to have equipment pickups. So we already have a boolean in the data table that tells us if a pickup is an ammo pickup. So we can make a difference between weapon and ammo pickups by using the variables from the data table. So you could also add an ammo enumeration in here if you would like, but I choose not to do so. So we have the new enum created and we want to add it to our pickup info, so we can add it to the data table. So let's open up our structure, and because we're going to make changes to a structure, first we're going to make sure that all of the project is saved, and then we want to only save the structure and make sure not all of the other blueprints are updated to prevent our project from potentially being corrupted. So in the structure, we're going to add 2 new variables. First one is the pickup type. So that's the enum that we just created. That's fine. So that's the pickup type. And then the second one is going to be the row name to add. So I'll get back to this in a little bit. So this is going to be a name variable. Now we want to save the structure. And don't save anything else. So we're going to close down the project, don't save it, and reopen it. So that way nothing should be messed up. So I'm going to pause it. And we're back. So now, first of all, let me get to the row name to add variable that we added in here. So if we take a look at one of the pickups that we placed in the level, That should be all the way down here somewhere. So for equipment, for example, we have the equipment row name to add, so that refers to the equipment data table, so we can get the correct ammo values and things like that. So this is a different data table with potentially a different row name. They could match, but they don't really need to match. So that's why this is a second variable that we want to add to the data table, so we can make sure that we get the correct value if we want to spawn this type of pickup. So that's what we added in there as well. So we're going to go to the loot folder again and make sure that we actually set the new variables inside of the data table. So let's open up our pickup weapon info data table. And then over here we can set the new variables. So for the weapons, we want to set the pickup type to weapon and then the row name to add. For the rifle, for me that's AR. So here you see why this can be different. So make sure you take the correct values in here. And then we can do the same thing for all of the other rows. So we have the shotgun, and in this case the row name is simply shotgun. So ammo rifle, we're also going to set it to be a weapon pickup. And then over here we have the is ammo pickup boolean, so we can use that to make a difference. And again, this is the AR because this is for the Maverick rifle. And then we have the SMG, so that's simply the SMG as a row name, the LMG as well, so that's LMG, and the auto pistol, same deal, so weapon, and then auto pistol. So those should be good to go, and then we have the grenades, so this is going to be an equipment pickup, and the row name for the normal grenade is grenade normal. And then we have grenade ice and grenade fire. And set those three to be an equipment pickup. And then we should be good to go. So we have the data table set up. And again, this refers to the data tables in the weapon folder. So we have the equipment info table, for example. We're using these row names to determine the actual weapon that we're spawning or the actual equipment that we're spawning. Okay, so back in the loot folder, we created the data table in the enum. So now we can create the actual pickup spawner. So let's create a new blueprint class and create an actor. And this is going to be my blueprint, random pickup spawner. And first of all, let's set it up over here. So I'm simply going to assign a mesh so we can see it in the editor. And the first thing we're going to do in game is actually delete that mesh. So it doesn't really matter what it is. It's just so we can see it in the editor. So first I'm going to add a scene component, call this root, and replace my default scene root. And then I'm going to add a static mesh. And to make sure it's something that stands out a little bit, I use the material preview mesh. So that's a little big, so I did shrink it down, 0.3, something like that. And then just gave it a golden texture. So if we see this mesh, we know there's a pickup spawner over there. And now we want to add a whole bunch of variables, and those are going to be to set up the actual options on the spawner. So there's going to be quite a lot of them. Let's start with the first one, and that's going to be spawn health. So that's simply a boolean, and for all of these variables that we're going to add, we want to make sure that we make them instance editable and exposed on spawn. So I'm not going to mention it for every one, simply make sure all of the ones we're going to add right now make it instance editable and exposed on spawn. And for this case, I'm also going to add categories, so it's a little bit easier to set up everything if we place it in the level. So for this boolean, that's going to be the category pickup types. And then I'm going to duplicate this boolean, and we're also going to be able to spawn equipment. So spawn equipment boolean, and we are also going to have a spawn weapon. No, that's caps lock, spawn weapon. And the last one we're going to add in here is spawn ammo. So we can simply enable one or multiple of these booleans, and that will add those pickups to the available pickups to spawn for this spawner. The next option we're going to add is the appearance delay. So this is going to be an integer. Again, make it editable and exposed on spawn. And for the category, I'm going to say pickup options. So we can set a delay in here if we don't want to spawn it immediately, but wait a little bit after the level is loaded, for example. So then I'm also going to add an appearance delay minimum. And I'm going to do this for all of the integer values that we're going to use. So if we are actually entering a value in this minimum integer, then we're going to use a randomized value between the minimum and the maximum one. If we keep the minimum at 0, we are simply going to use the appearance delay that we set in here. So that's how it's going to work for all of the integers that we're going to use on the exposed of spawn variables. The next thing I want to add is a boolean. So let's duplicate this, and that's going to be pickup response. So this will simply say if the pickup should respawn after it has been picked up or not. Then we want to add two more integers. So the first one is the respawn time. And the second one is the respawn time minimum. So again, we can randomize it if we want to. And then the last thing I want to add in here is a boolean called save picked up items. Picked up items. So this is actually a boolean that's also on the pickups that we have for equipment and weapon. And those will tell us if the picked up weapon will be saved to the player's inventory on the player profile, so that the player can use it in the loadout menu in the lobby. So we currently have it set up for weapons, and in the next episode we're also going to make sure that our equipment inventory works in the same way. So we can simply pass on that boolean over here to the pickup spawner to set that in here as well. So those are the pickup options. Then we're going to have different options for the different type of pickups. So the first one is going to be the health spawn chance. And that's an integer again. So this should be health. So I'm going to get back to this in a little bit when we actually use it in the blueprint to explain how it works. This is going to be the category health options. There we go. And then I also want another integer in here, and that's going to be the amount of health that this pickup is going to add. And I'm going to duplicate it and make a minimum as well, so we can randomize it if we want to. And then we're going to add some stuff for weapon and ammo. So let's duplicate the integer, and the first one is going to be the loaded ammo stock. And then I'm going to use percentages because we don't know what kind of weapon we're going to spawn, and we might not fill in correct ammo values for that weapon. So depending if we spawn a shotgun, for example, it only has a maximum stock of 80, so we cannot fill in 100. So I'm going to use percentages over here to make sure it works for all weapons. And then for the stock percentage, we also want to add a minimum so we can randomize and do the same thing for the clip. So we're going to do loaded ammo clip percentage and also create a minimum value for that one. So those are good to go. Now we have these set under the health options, and these are actually going to be ammo options. So let's change that and move these over. There we go. So those are all of the options for our pickup. There's one last variable I want to add, and this is not going to be instance editable or exposed on spawn. This is simply used in the blueprint, and this is the available pickup names. Available pickup names. So that's going to be an array of names. So name and turn it into an array. And now we should be good to go. So we can compile and save this for now. First, I want to go into our pickup base blueprint. So we're going to minimize this one for a second. Go into the pickup base. Sorry. So this is the parent of all of the pickups, and in here we want to add a variable, and that's going to be the PickupSpawner. So we want to turn it into our BP PickupSpawner type. And that should be good to go. So we're going to compile and save it, and we can close down our our pickup base blueprint again. So in a nutshell, how this is going to work, we're going to place the random pickup spawner in our level, most likely. So this is probably not something you're going to spawn through script. You're going to make the level and put these in there. So this is going to be in all instances of the level. So for each instance of a player that's playing the game, will have this pickup in the level. So the first thing we're going to do is delete the static mesh for everybody, and the rest we're only going to run on server. So the server doesn't need to replicate any of this. It's going to choose what kind of pickup it wants to spawn and things like that, and then simply spawn the pickup base, and that's replicated, so it will spawn for every player in the game. So we don't need to worry about replication for the pickup spawner as well, because the server handles the actually picking up of the pickup. So the server can retrieve the pickup spawner if we pick it up. And again, nothing needs to replicate in here because we're only running this on the server anyway. Okay, so we're done in the pickup base, and we can go back to the random pickup spawner and actually start setting this up. The first thing I want to do in here is start setting up BeginPlay. So let's get rid of the rest. And as I mentioned, we want to destroy the static mesh for everybody in the game, not only for the server. And this is not a replicated blueprint, so we want to grab the static mesh and simply destroy component on BeginPlay. So BeginPlay is effectively kind of a multicast event. It executes on all instances, so this will make sure for everybody the mesh is deleted. After that, we want to grab a has authority node. So everything behind here, we're only going to execute it on the server. So we want to get all of the names inside of our available pickup names array, and for that we're going to make a function, and we're going to call that getAvailablePickupNames. And we're going to make sure that it returns an array of names. So that's going to be the available pickup names. And turn it into a name array. And make sure that we set this up first. So I'm grabbing my notes quickly. Let's move the return node out of the way for now. So first we want to get all of the available pickups in the data table. So we can drag off and get table row names. So this upper one over here, and if we select the data table in here, so we're going to select our pickup weapon info table. So the pickup item info table is from the multiplayer inventory series, so make sure you grab the correct one. And now we will have an array with all of the row names from the data table, and all we need to do now is filter out the correct ones. So we're going to grab a for each loop and plug it in over here. No, we're not going to plug it in over here. First, we're going to store it in a local variable. So local all pickup names. And then we can hook it up to the for each loop and plug it in over here. There we go. So now that we have the actual row name, we can get a table row. Plug it into the loop body. And we want to get it from our pickup weapon info table. Yes, we do. So we can drag off the outer row and break it. And then from here, we can grab the new enumeration that we added to determine if this is a pickup that we want to add to the current array for this pickup spawner. So drag of the pickup type, and we're going to switch on the enum over here. Sorry, I needed to cough. I'm still a bit cold, by the way, so hopefully it doesn't really notice on the video, but let's ignore that. So we're switching on the pickup enum, but there is one little downside. The actual health pickups don't have a row name inside of our data table. So we need to make sure that we handle those a little bit differently. And that's why in this function we can ignore the health pin. So that's not going to execute. And we're going to start with the weapon one first. So let's add a branch to the weapon one. And we can simply plug in our boolean that tells us if we want to spawn a weapon or not. So if we want to spawn weapons, we want to add a second branch in here, plug it into the true pin, and then we need to double check that this is not an ammo pickup. So we can plug this second branch into the data table is ammo pickup value. So if we want to spawn weapons, that doesn't necessarily mean that we also want to spawn ammo. So if the spawn is ammo boolean is true, then we need to check if we want to spawn ammo or not. So we're going to grab a branch in here and then plug in our spawn ammo branch. No, that wasn't really smooth. So there we go. And then if this returns true, then we want to add this row name to a local array. So we're going to create another local array over here, and this is going to be the local available pickup names. So we can grab it over here and then add an entry to it. So plug it into the true pin, and the thing we want to add is the array element from the for each loop over here. So plug it in. So this is if it's an ammo pickup and we want to spawn it. So if we don't want to spawn it, we are not going to do anything. Then if this is not an ammo pickup over here, then we do want to spawn weapons because we said this was true. So if this returns false, then we also want to add it, by the way. Oh yeah, but we don't want to add it for this false pin, so we do need this branch. So I'm sorry, got a little bit confused over here. So we can simply copy and paste this part and hook it up to the false pin over here. Make sure you also hook up the array element from the for each loop. And that should be good as well. So if we don't want to spawn a weapon, but it's marked as a weapon pickup, then it can still be an ammo pickup. So again, we want to add a branch and plug this into the data table is ammo pickup boolean. And then if we want to, first of all, let's move this to the side and then check if we actually want to spawn ammo. So sorry, a little bit confusing over here. There we go. So we don't want to spawn a weapon, but it's marked as a weapon pickup. Then check if we want to spawn ammo or not. If that's true, then we can grab the boolean from the data table again. So if this actually is an ammo pickup and we want to spawn it, we're going to add it to the array again. So plug it into the true pin and grab the array element. And now we can leave both of these false pins unconnected. In this case, we don't want to add the pickup to the array. And then we have the equipment one. So this is a little bit easier. We can simply hook it up to the equipment pin and then check if we want to spawn equipment. So replace the boolean. And if that's true, then we can add it to the array again. So plug in the true pin and plug in the array element over here. And that's good to go. So now if this for each loop is done, then we will have a local array with all of the available pickups and we can simply return it. So we're going to grab the return node, hook it up to the completed pin and plug in our local available pickup names. There we go. So that's good to go, and we can go back into the event graph to actually call this on BeginPlay for the server. So hook it up to the authority pin, and the return value from the function is going to be setting the available pickup names array over here. So make sure you plug that in as well. And then all we want to do is grab our appearance delay and wait for the correct amount of time before we actually spawn a pickup. So I'm going to use a macro in here. Let me explain it a little bit quickly. So we have our appearance delay and appearance delay minimum. So as I mentioned, if we fill in a value for the minimum, then we're going to randomize between the minimum and the normal value. If we leave this at 0, then we're simply going to grab this value and don't use anything randomized. But we have a bunch of those. So we have them for the appearance delay, for the respawn time, health, ammo. So what I want to do is simply make a little macro that will make it cleaner and easier in the graph to determine if we want to use a randomized value or not. So what I am going to do is create a new macro over here on the side. Click the little plus sign, and I'm going to call this use random value. So now I'm going to grab the input node, and first of all I'm going to add an execution. So let's click plus, and then we can change the variable type over here, but we have an execution pin. So in this case we can simply add execution, and let's call this execute. That's fine. And then we also want to add two integers. So the first one is going to be our value, and that's an integer. And the second one is going to be the value minimum. So that's also an integer. And then I'm going to grab the output. And for the output, I'm going to add two executions. So let's add an execution. The first one is going to be random value. And let's add a second pin over here. And that's going to be fixed value. So what we want to do in here is not too complicated. First, we're going to grab the minimum value and make sure that it's not 0. So let's do a not equal to 0. And in case it's not 0, we also want to make sure that the minimum value is actually less than the maximum value. So we're going to drag off here and grab an end boolean. And then we can simply add a second condition. So if our normal value is greater than, so not greater than or equal, but actually greater than our minimum value, and then plug it in here as well. So now we can simply grab a branch, plug it into the execution and the condition. So if this is true, we want to use a random value. If this is false, we're going to use a fixed value. So simple as that, but it simply makes our normal graph a lot cleaner if we use the macro instead of using this all the time. So we can go back to the event graph, and we're still in BeginPlay. So now we can grab our macro for the random value, and we can simply plug in our delays, so the normal and the minimum value, and this will determine what branch we're going to use. So now we can grab a delay node in here, and if we use a random value, then we want to grab these two again and drag off here and use a random integer in range. And then simply plug it into the delay, so it will be converted to a float. And then for the lower branch, we can simply grab a delay. Oh, sorry. First of all, we're going to check a second thing. So let's grab another branch. And in this case, let's make sure that we actually have an appearance delay set up. So we're going to grab appearance delay and make sure that it's not equal to 0. Plug it in. So if this is true, then we actually want to wait for the amount that's set in our appearance delay. So we can simply plug it in over here. And if this is false, then we want to spawn a pickup immediately. But we need to create that event first. So that's what we're going to do next. And we're going to skip completing BeginPlay for now. So let me see. We want to create the pickup event, so the pickup spawn event, and for that I'm going to create two functions, and those are going to be to spawn a health pickup or spawn any of the other random pickups. So as I mentioned, the health pickup doesn't have an entry in our data table, so we need to handle that a little bit differently. So first of all, let's create the functions. The first one is going to be spawn health pickup. And in here, the first thing we're going to do is use our useRandomValue macro and plug in our health values. So health and health minimum. Oh, come on. There we go. And then we can determine what we want to do. So we can make a local variable in here, call this local pickup health. And that's going to be a float, a single variable. And we can set it over here. So if we want to use a random value, we want to grab both of these and then get a random integer in range. Plug it in and it will be converted for you. And in the other case, we can simply hook it up over here and then grab our health value and plug it in directly. So we're not going to randomize anything. And that's good to go. So in this case, we know we want to spawn a health pickup, so we can simply drag off here and do spawn actor from class and hook up both of the execution pins. And now we can select our blueprint child pickup for the health, so BPC pickup health. And our exposed on spawn variables will appear, so we can plug in our local pickup health value over here. And the pickup row name is actually not used for the health pickups, but because that's an inherited variable from the pickup base, we cannot delete it. So we can simply ignore it. But for the spawn transform, we do need to enter it so we can get the actor transform of this blueprint. So we're simply going to spawn the pickup at the same location as the pickup spawner. And this is good to go. So we do need to do one thing, and that's return this pickup as an output for the function. But in this case, it's a pickup health, and we want to return it as a pickup base. So we're going to add a return node, and then add a return value, and that's the spawned pickup. And we need to change this into the pickup base variable type. There we go. And then we can plug it in over here, and the spawn health pickup function is done. So we can compile that one. And let me switch my notes quickly. So now we can do the spawn random pickup function. So let's create a second function in here. Call this spawn random pickup. Sorry. And the first thing we're going to do in here is grab our available pickup names array. And we want to get a random item from here. So we're simply selecting a random item from the data table. And we're going to store this into a local variable. And this is going to be the local pickup to spawn. There we go. So now that we know what we want to spawn, we can get a table row. And we want to get it for the local pickup to spawn, obviously. And we want to get it from the pickup weapon info table. So pickup weapon info table. And let's break the out row over here. So what we want to do is determine what kind of pickup this is, so we can set the correct the correct ammo values. So we're going to drag off the pickup type over here, and we're going to switch on the enum again, plug it into the row found pin. So if this is a weapon pickup, then we want to set the ammo clip and stock, and if it's an equipment pickup, then we only want to set the stock value. So let's start with the weapon branch first, and we need to get a table row again, because this time we actually need to get the ammo values, and those are inside of the weapon info table. So let's make sure you grab the weapon info table, and then the row name is going to be the row name to add from the pickup info table. So make sure you hook it up over there, and don't use the pickup to spawn, because that doesn't work in here. So we can break the out row in here, and we are pretty much only interested in the ammo. So let's grab the ammo clip and the ammo stock value. First of all, let's grab our macro to determine if we want to use a random value or not. So we'll hook it up to the row found pin, and we can grab the stock values first. So let's grab loaded ammo stock and loaded ammo stock minimum. Hook them up like this. Let's make a little bit more room. So if we want to use a random value, again, I'm going to store it in a local variable. So let's create a local ammo stock. That's an integer. And let's make the clip one as well. So that's loaded ammo clip. And that's also an integer. So if we want to randomize it, we're going to set our local ammo stock, grab these values, and simply grab a random integer in range. Hook them up and plug them in. And if we don't want to randomize it, then we can set it directly over here. But I'm actually forgetting something. So we are using percentages over here, and we want to turn these percentages into an actual ammo amount. So if we set the ammo stock to 50% and the stock is 120, we're going to get 60 bullets, for example. So again, for that, I'm going to make a simple macro so we can turn the ammo percentage into an actual ammo count that we need to add to the weapon. So let's create a second macro in here. Oh. And I'm going to call this get ammo count from percentage. Get ammo count from percentage. And for the inputs, we're going to add two integers. So let's add the first one, and that's going to be a maximum ammo value. And then the second one is going to be the percent. And then we're going to add one output, and that's going to be the amount that we need to add. So we are going to enter something like 30% in here, for example. So we need to divide this through 100. So we get 0.3. And then we can simply multiply the maximum ammo amount with the result over here. And that will give us the correct amount. So we can simply plug this into the output, and we have a nice simple macro that we can use. So let's get back to the spawn random pickup function, and we want to disconnect it over here and then get the ammo count from percentage. So the percentage is going to be the randomized value, and the maximum value comes from the ammo stock value from the data table, and then plug it in over here. So we can do the same thing down here, but this time we don't need to randomize it, so we can simply grab the ammo stock, plug that into the percentage, and grab the maximum value from the table. Okay, so that's good to go. I need to switch my notes again. So we want to do the same thing over here for the clip. So this is a weapon, we need to do the stock and the clip. So first of all, we're going to decide if we are using a random value for the clip as well. And we want to make sure that we hook up both of the execution pins over here. So let's do that first. There we go. And we need to hook up the clip values. So loaded ammo clip percentage and the percentage minimum. Just like that. And then we can grab the local variable local ammo clip. And if we want to randomize it, we can grab our nodes from here and paste them over here. So this gets a little bit messy. Let's make a little bit more room. So we're using a random value. We want to use a random integer in range from the clip values. So plug them in over here. Turn that into an actual ammo count by getting the maximum ammo value from the data table, but this time use the clip value. And the return goes into the clip amount. And then we can copy and paste this for the fixed value. And in this case, grab the macro and simply hook up our loaded ammo clip percentage into the percent pin. And again, grab the max value from the table. Okay, so that should make sure that we have the correct ammo value set depending on what we entered in the details panel. And over here we determined that this is a weapon pickup, so now we know that we want to spawn a blueprint child weapon. So let's drag off here and spawn an actor from class. make sure we hook up both of the execution pins again. And then in here we can simply select our pickup weapon. And over here we have everything that we need to enter. So let's start at the top, the get actor transform. So we're simply spawning it at this location. The weapon row name to add, we can grab it from the data table over here. So that's the pickup weapon info table where we added the row name at the beginning of the video. Then we have the save picked up weapon boolean. So we actually have a boolean for that inside of the variables here, so we can simply transfer that. The loaded ammo clip and stock, we're going to use the local variables, so the ammo clip and the ammo stock will come up in here. And then the pickup name is going to be the local pickup to spawn, so hook that up over here as well. So that should make everything work, and that should spawn the actual pickup. Now all we need to do is return this pickup at the end of the function. So we're going to promote it to a local variable. Yeah, let's just do that, why not? So that's going to be the local spawned pickup. But because we promoted this to a variable from here, this is actually a pickup weapon, and we want to return this as a pickup base. So let's change it into a pickup base variable. Yes, change variable type, that's fine. And now hook it up again. So that's good to go. And we can grab a return node in here. And we want to return the local variable like so. So this is going to be the spawned pickup. Okay, so that's the weapon branch. And now we want to do kind of the same thing for the equipment branch over here. So let's move this up a little bit. So if this is an equipment pickup, then we want to get a table row name as well. But in this case, we want to get it from our equipment info table. So let's make sure we get the equipment info. And the row name again is the row name to add from the pickup info table. So we're going to plug that in over here. And then we can break the out row. And we can use the maximum ammo value from here. So that's pretty much all we're interested in. First of all, we're going to determine if we want to use a randomized value. And for the equipment, we're simply going to use the ammo stock. So what we could do over here is simply grab this part for the loaded ammo stock, use random value, and then also grab these nodes and the other branch as well. Copy them and paste them over here. So that goes into the row found pin. And now we are simply determining if we are using a randomized value or not and setting it into the local ammo stock. All we need to do is connect up these maximum ammo values to the correct data table value in here. So that's good to go. And now we determined we are spawning a pickup, equipment pickup. So this case we want to use a spawn actor from class. Hook up both of the execution pins, and this time we're gonna spawn a pickup for equipment. And we need to set up everything again, so we're gonna get the actor transform from this blueprint and simply spawn the pickup over there. The equipment row name to add comes from the data table again, so grab that over here. The save picked up weapon, so that should actually say saved picked up equipment, but I forgot to change the boolean, but that doesn't really matter. So grab it from the variables and simply pass it on. Loaded ammo is the local ammo stock value, so hook that up over here. The pickup row name is the local pickup to spawn. And after that's done, we want to store it inside of our local spawn pickup again. So the return value, plug it in over here and go to the return node. So we are actually returning the pickup as well. Okay, so that should be good to go. Make sure there's no loose ends in here except for the row not found pins and the health pin. So everything else should be hooked up for the macros and things like that. And both of the branches should be connected. So make sure everything is hooked up. compile and save. And now we are good to go to actually set up the event that will spawn the pickups. So let's get back to the event graph, and we're going to create a custom event in here. And I'm going to call this spawn pickup. So this is the event that we're going to call at the moment we actually want to spawn something. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a branch, and we're going to check if we want to spawn health or not. So as I mentioned, this doesn't have an entry in the row names from the data table. So we need to handle this a little bit differently. And also I'm going to make sure that if we enable multiple things in here, so for example health and weapons, then it will kind of prioritize health by first checking that. And after it checks if it wants to spawn health or not, we're going to grab the health spawn chance. And with that we can randomize it. So if for example we're say a 50% chance to spawn health and this returns false, then after that it will check the other booleans if it needs to spawn anything else perhaps or not. So that's how this is going to work. So if we want to spawn health, we're going to grab our health spawn chance, and we also want to get a random integer in range. And we simply want to get it in between 1 and 100. So if the random value is less or equal than our percentage in here, then we're going to spawn something, or not something, but actually a health pickup. So we can grab a second branch in here, plug it in. So if this returns true, then we can simply call our spawn health pickup over here, plug it into the true pin. So this actually spawned the pickup in the level, and what we want to do next is determine if we want to respawn a pickup after this has been picked up. So if we don't want to respawn anything else, we can simply delete our pickup spawner because we're not going to use it anymore. And if we want to respawn something else, we want to keep the pickup spawner as well, obviously. So we're going to grab a branch. So that came out really nice. We're going to grab a branch and check if it respawns or not. If it does, we're going to drag off the spawned pickup and set the pickup spawner on the actual pickup. So connect this up to the true pin, and then the pickup spawner is a reference to ourselves. So if we don't want to respawn anything after the pickup has been picked up, we can simply destroy our pickup spawner. So destroy actor self. And that's good to go. So this is if we want to spawn health, and our spawn health chance check actually succeeded. So if the spawn check for the chance failed, then we're going to check if we might want to spawn something else. So we're also going to grab a branch in here, and this time we're going to check if we want to spawn equipment, a weapon, or ammo. So we're simply going to drag in all three of them and grab an OR boolean. Add a third pin in here. So if any of these three are true, then we're going to spawn a random pickup. So we can grab our spawn random pickup function, hook this up to the true pin over here. And then again, we want to do the same thing as we did for the health pickup. So we can copy this over here and paste it. So check if we want to spawn another pickup after this one has been picked up. If we do, we're going to set a reference to the spawner on the pickup that we spawned. If not, we're simply going to delete the blueprint for the actual spawner, not the pickup, obviously. So that's good to go as well. Now, if this is false, then we're gonna check if we are actually spawning health or not. Sorry, no, we don't need to check that. So if this is false, we already determined that we have the spawn health boolean enabled. So it might be that this simply failed, but if we have respawn enabled, we want to check it again after the respawn time. So we are going to grab another branch in here, plug it into the false pin, and check if the pickup respawns or not. And if it does, then we're going to call an event to set the timer for respawning. So we need to create that event. For now, we can simply grab the false pin and make sure that we hook up the destroy actor if we don't want to respawn anything else. So then we can get rid of the spawner. And for the true pin, we're going to get back to that in a second. First of all, let's finish up this event. So we have the false pin over here. If we don't have spawn health enabled, then we probably have one of these other threes enabled. Otherwise, there's not really use for placing this pickup spawner in the level. So in this case, we can simply hook it up over, sorry, not over there. We can simply hook it up to the spawn random pickup over here. So we don't really have to check any of the other booleans. So we're spawning a pickup, check if we want to respawn, etc, etc. So that's good to go. Then we want to add the start respawn timer custom event as well. So let's go to an empty spot, create a custom event and call this start respawn timer. So again, first we're going to check if we want to randomize this value or not. So we're going to grab our macro and then grab the respawn time and the respawn time minimum. So if we want to randomize, we can grab a delay in here and grab a random value in between these two. So we're going to get a random integer in range and plug them in and hook them up to the delay. And if we don't want to randomize, we can simply hook up a delay to the respawn time. And that's good to go. And after the delay is finished, we can call our spawn pickup event. Hook up both of the pins over here. So we are creating our own little loop in here with a little delay. And if it's done, it returns to this function and etc. It can loop around. So now we want to hook up the start respawn timer to the false pin, to the true pin over here. So start respawn timer. So this will make sure that if the health spawn chance failed and we are not spawning anything else, that we're gonna wait for the respawn time to check if we might want to spawn it the next time. Okay, so this should pretty much work, I think. There's not really a whole lot left to do. We want to go to our child pickups. So let's minimize this one. And let's start with the equipment pickup, for example. So in the event graph over here, after the item has been picked up, we want to make sure that we actually tell that to the pickup spawner. So the pickup spawner knows if it needs to respawn anything or not. So what we can do over here, let me double check. Oh yeah, we need to determine if our pickup spawner is valid or not. So we have two events, the interact with actor and the replace equipment. So both of them are for picking up an item. And what we want to do is disconnect the destroy actor at the end. So first we're going to check if our pickup spawner is valid, and that's a variable on the parent. So we can simply get the pickup spawner. Although it's not in the list in here, it is a variable on here, and then we can grab an isValid node. So if we set this, that means that the pickup spawner is set to respawn, and if the pickup spawner is not set to respawn, we do not have this variable set, so it will simply return not valid. So now we can drag off here and start the respawn timer. Hook this up to the isValid pin, and then make sure that we destroy the actor in both of the other cases. And now we want to do the same thing for the other event in here as well. So copy and paste it and hook it up in here. So that will activate the respawn timer if the pickup has been picked up. So that's the equipment one. We can close it down and open up the health one. So in here we want to do the same thing, but we only have one branch for picking it up. So that makes it a little bit easier. At the end, we're going to get rid of the destroy actor node. We want to get our pickup spawner. Make sure that it's valid. And if it's valid, we're going to start the respawn timer. and otherwise we're simply going to destroy this actor. So that's good to go as well. And now the last one is the weapon pickup. So let's get rid of this one, BPC pickup weapon. Again, in the event graph over here, we have two events. So for both of them, we want to do the same thing. So let's get our pickup spawner, make sure that this one is valid. And if it's valid, we want to start the respawn timer. So hook up both of the execution pins over here for the interact event. And then make sure that we actually destroy the actor. And in the event down here, we only have one branch. So make sure that you hook up the respawn timer event in here as well. So that's good to go. And now for the weapon pickup, there is one thing that we do need to do as well. And that's actually move over the construction script. So turns out construction script isn't really that reliable if we are replicating things. So it might be disfired on the server while the client has not spawned in the level yet. And some stuff might not replicate correctly. So if we don't change this, then the particle system will not be deleted for clients. So what we're going to do is actually move all of this stuff to begin play. So let's just select everything in here and we're going to cut it. And then go to the event graph. And in here, we're going to get our event begin play. So we can paste all of this stuff. But first, we want to make a call to the parent event. So we're going to right click on begin play and then select add call to parent function. So that's the first thing that we want to do. That will make sure that begin play on the actual parent blueprint will fire first. So if you don't add this, then this event begin play will override the one on the pickup base. So this will fire instead of the pickup base. And if we add this, then first it will execute the one on the parent and then we can add something to it. So then we are grabbing the stuff from the construction script and actually hooking that up over here. And that should do it. So yeah, we don't need to change anything. We just want to move it over and that should be good to go. So let's compile and save it as well. And I think we are ready to test. So I'm gonna launch, we need to put the actual spawners in the level. So let's do that as well. Let's open up the level and make sure that we have a viewport in here. There we go. So now I want to add the pickup spawner. So let's go over there. And obviously my mouse battery is dying. So that's great timing. Hopefully it holds on for a few minutes. So let's place one of the pickup spawners and then go to the details panel. So for the first one, I'm going to make this a health pickup. So I'm going to enable spawn health and then we want to set the pickup options. So I'm going to randomize the appearance delay for say something between 4 and 6 seconds. So maximum 6, minimum 4. Then I'm going to enable respawning. So a new pickup will spawn after it's been picked up. The respawn time, I'm going to randomize it a little bit as well in between 6 and 3 seconds maybe. And then the save picked up item, for now it only applies to weapons and we don't really need to test it right now, so we can ignore it. So I'm going to make sure that the health spawn chance for the actual health pickup is 100%, so it will always spawn, and the amount of health is going to be in between 30 and 15 for example. So just some example values so we can test things. Then we can duplicate the pickup over here and I can make this one for equipment. So disable health and enable equipment. That will make sure it only spawns equipment. You can then enable both of them and it will randomize. So the pickup options, I'm going to keep them the same. And then we don't need health options, but we need ammo options. So this is equipment. We only need the stock value and I'm going to say load it for 100%. So let's not randomize this one. Duplicate it again and make this a weapon pickup. I'm going to keep the same appearance options, and this time I'm going to randomize it in between 150% for the stock and make sure that the clip is full. So simply enter 100% for that. Let's duplicate it again and make an ammo pickup. So we can kind of keep the same settings in here, maybe get rid of the randomize, whatever you want to try, just change things up a little bit. And then for the last one, I'm going to make a random pickup. So I'm going to enable everything. And we do need to make sure that we also enter a health spawn chance. So I'm going to make that 25% chance. So it will have a 25% chance it will spawn health in here. If that check fails, then it will spawn any of the other pickups. And then we can set the health amount, so maybe between 50 and 25, something like that. So this should pretty much be good to go. So now we can test it. So I forgot one small but pretty important thing. We want to go into the random pickup spawner, and I forgot to finish the event begin play. So we still have the loose branches in here. And after each of these branches, we want to call our spawn pickup event. So we need to call spawn pickup and make sure that we hook up all three of them. So depending on if we have an appearance delay or not, we're going to grab the correct branch. So that will make sure something actually spawns. So that's pretty important. And now we should be able to test. So I'm going to set this up quickly and be back in a second. So the game is launching. Hopefully this works. So let's have a little look. First of all, let's check out with the client. And you saw we have the appearance delay. So that's why the pickups didn't appear immediately, but there was a few seconds delay. So that should be good. Now let's make sure that the pickups are the same for the server and the client. So we have a health pickup, then a grenade pickup, an auto pistol, maverick ammo, and then the shotgun. So grenade, auto pistol, maverick ammo, shotgun. So that looks good as well. And now we might want to check if we can actually pick something up. So let's damage one of these guys. So he can grab a health pickup over here, for example. So that's working, and now this should respawn after a certain time, and we can do the same thing for the random pickup over here. So right now this is a weapon, and it could respawn something else. So the pickup for the health respawned already, so that's working, and over here we also get a health pickup, so that could happen obviously. So let's pick it up as well. Okay, so that's working. We get a different amount of health than this pickup. So that's also something that's working because we entered that in the data table. So we cannot pick up a grenade because the ammo is full. But if we actually throw some grenades, we can pick that up as well. And it should respawn. And this time it's a different type of grenade. So it's actually randomizing as well. So it all looks pretty good. So now you have a decent option to spawn random pickups, and you can determine if you actually want to randomize it completely or spawn a different type of pickup. So yeah, this should be something useful, hopefully. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, and I'll be back soon for more. Talk to you later, guys. Bye bye.